Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Scott Turner just runs circles around Chris Cuomo, who is horrified that housing and urban development might be telling the truth about this Schumer shutdown. Let's dive in.
This is to the official website. The radical left are going to shut down the government and inflict massive pain on the American people unless they get their 1.5 trillion wish list of demands. The Trump administration wants to keep the government open for the American people. The department doubled down using its official social media account to retweet this message from HUD. I'm not used to seeing naked political propaganda on a government website. Are you worried about this violating the Hatch Act?
No, sir, we're not worried at all. And this is not about propaganda, Chris. This is just about letting the American people know what's going on. But we really need to be talking about how this government shutdown impacts the American people.
I want to do that, but this is part of the impact, right? I mean, when you're saying the radical left is shutting it down and they're doing it for $1.5 trillion for illegals, that's not true, Secretary Turner. That's why I'm bringing it up, because it's propaganda.
Well, you know what, though, Chris, you look at this, and I've heard all the cries and the outcry and people saying this is propaganda, that it's a violation of the Hatch Act. You know, to me, the Democrats and the far left are using this as a distraction to really deflect from what's really important here, and that's how it's been irresponsible actions on the Hill, and American people are being impacted greatly by this government shutdown. That's what we really need to be talking about.
I agree. I'm sure we also both agree two wrongs don't make a right, but let's talk about it. What is happening every day that this shutdown continues, from your perspective at Housing and Urban Development?
So if you look at housing and urban development at HUD, we serve about 4 million families in America that rely on HUD. And so the resources that these families rely on literally are in limbo and in jeopardy because of this government shutdown. You talk about housing authorities, public housing assistance, resources that go to our homeless neighbors around the country. All of these things are in limbo and in jeopardy because of this government shutdown. And at HUD, man, we are really focused on serving the most vulnerable people of this country.
What percentage do you think of people that you serve are on Medicaid?
You know, Chris, I can get back to you with that number.
No, it's not a gotcha. It's not a gotcha, but is it a significant portion, or is it the minority?
You know, I'm not sure. I want to give you a right answer.
I
don't want to just throw anything out there because that's not how I operate, but I'll get that back to you.
Yeah, no, it's not a gotcha. It's just context.
You
deal with the neediest people, okay? I mean, you've been doing this a very long time, and that population is vulnerable. My argument is that the people that you're helping are being used to pay for the tax cuts. And is that the right priority, in your opinion, of how we should share benefit and burden right now?
Well, Chris, as you said when you introduced me, you know, my job, I'm the secretary of HUD. And we deal with housing, we deal with homelessness, we deal with disaster recovery. I'll leave that up to the people on Capitol Hill to figure that out, what you're asking about Medicaid and Medicare. But my job as a steward of HUD is to make sure that we're maximizing our budget to serve the American people that depend on the services that HUD delivers.
How long without your services can people go before they don't have a place?
You know what? It depends on the program. And like you said, and I'm glad you said that, because that's what's in jeopardy. Every day that this government shuts down is a day that puts the most vulnerable people in our country in a very hard and particular situation. And so it depends on the program area from HUD. But we don't need to be shut down. We need to be responsible, and we need to get together and say, hey, how can we open this government back up to serve the people of America? And that's my focus here.
Talk about putting on an absolute clinic here. Scott Turner does a fantastic job basically standing up for the housing and urban development side of the federal government, and I think he actually has his heart in the right place. So the real reason the Democrats are all up in arms is because the Hatch Act is perhaps one of the most opaque acts when it comes to the actions of federal government employees. Except the website isn't assigned to just one employee. It's merely the website. It is the tool for actually talking about certain issues and informing people. And the original statement, though they did amend it the next day, Tuesday, basically said that it was brought up that Cuomo actually quoted it here. But yeah, the radical left is using this as a way to get more housing for illegal immigrants. And boy, oh boy, do I love this walking in this gray area before you fully cross that fine line. If you're 64 years or older, you probably want to listen to this one. The Department of Justice just went after 3 of the biggest Medicare providers, all for claiming that they were unbiased, while allegedly steering seniors into plans that provided them the best kickbacks. This just goes to show you can't trust any old Medicare provider to have your back. But navigating Medicare alone, that can be a total nightmare. That's why I want you to know about Chapter. They flip the script on the system by comparing every Medicare plan, not just the ones that give them the highest kickbacks. That's how they help people save, on average, $1,100 per year. If your plan's already the right fit, they'll tell you. And if there's a better plan out there, they'll help you switch. So if you're ready to fight against a rigged system, call Chapter today and get advice from people in your corner. Here's why. That fine line of the Hatch Act is essentially that employees cannot be this outspoken. They can't really share this kind of stuff. They can't go out and do these sort of political acts. But yet at the same time, they're also allowed to go out and protest. They're allowed to share other things on their social media. That's really this weird opaque area, and no one ever gets properly prosecuted on it. It's so rare. For instance, Barack Obama he's not technically a federal government employee, has gone out on behalf of the federal government. Does that constitute a violation of the Hatch Act? Again, it's an opaque law that basically says something on one hand and then says you can do it on the other. And this is how I know the Democrats are not happy about this and are trying to spin this in any direction they can to gain some traction here. This is how I know. This is from The Hill and Jasmine Crockett herself. I think they're being a lot more illegal in their messaging. The first thing I wanted to know was, how can this not be a violation of the Hatch Act in some way? Right? Crockett said during an appearance on CNN's The Source. Translation, they know that there's a potential problem, can't prove it, so they've got to run even harder to one side in order to push the narrative. Jasmine Crockett isn't always the brightest bulb in the box or isn't the sharpest tool in the shed. But she's a lawyer for a reason, all right? She knows how to push narratives. She knows how to push legal theory. She's not great at it. She's not really good at it. But occasionally she stumbles into something, and the Democrats are going to try to run with this. Cuomo, however, this is how I also know that this isn't a real thing. When Cuomo was trying to grill Scott Turner immediately started talking about the problems that we've been currently having with Medicaid. And what does Cuomo do? He basically leans into the fact that, yeah, there really isn't much here. That's sort of a canary in the coal mine moment, because when Cuomo then pivots to talk about the issues of Medicaid, that means that there's another issue he's really trying to talk about. And he basically admits it. He admits that there's another issue that they're trying to talk about Medicaid. And the reason the Democrats do this is because they're desperate to regain a whole bunch of narratives that they've lost. One of which, and I've talked about this ad nauseum here, is that the idea that they've been trying to recapture the idea that the Democrat Party is the party of law and order. No, it's not. It hasn't been since they lost it in the 60s. And they've been desperately trying to regain that. To make matters worse for them in the messaging department, they have been losing the welfare argument. They've been losing it ever since FDR overstepped his constitutional bounds. They've been losing it ever since they found out that the Great Society doesn't exactly work. Ever since the 80s, the Republicans have had success after success until Newt Gingrich finally put the last real nails in the coffin of these programs that really don't work. That's the sad truth, that America can provide a safety net, and that safety net isn't going to work. It's not even going to be that much of a crutch. It's really just a safety net right above the pit. And so, yes, it protects people from falling even further, but there isn't much further they can go. And there's no way out of that net. There's no way out of that edge of the pit. You're going to keep climbing. You're going to fall right back down unless you found a really lucky way of moving forward. So yeah, this is a real wedge issue for Democrats, because on one hand, if the Housing and Urban Development is indeed saying the truth that yes, the radical left, they aren't pointing direct fingers at Democrats, are trying to give more money to illegal immigrants than American citizens, all of a sudden the wedge that is growing within both minority and blue-collar communities with the American Democrat Party, that rift will continue to grow. And so if the Democrats fight on this and win, they lose part of their own constituency because, oh, you're helping out people who aren't Americans. And the Republican Party can prove it. And if they don't, and if they cower and back down, they're admitting that their welfare policies don't work. This is a brilliant play by the Republican Party, and the best the Democrats can do is either rage about it or really take a pulse and actually see how deeply the Democrats care about this issue. This is power politics at its worst. However, there are some good things that can come of this. But we'll be covering that in earnest, and it's going to be a conversation that the Democrats don't want to have. And so, yeah, I know that Democrats aren't happy, but Cuomo switching up the topic and actually wanting to talk about Medicare really tells me that they know they're losing on the illegal immigrant angle, so they've got to talk about the policy. This isn't about the Hatch Act. This is about power politics, and Scott Turner played his part perfectly well. Good for him. Good for the Trump administration. And Cuomo, you're getting better. You're getting better. But you still haven't gotten there yet. Hopefully one day you will. Although we know Jasmine Crockett, who I directly quoted, she never will. I'd say bless her heart, but at some point, you gotta just move on. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politabrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.